Hi, and in this video I want to discuss the politics of the Revolutionary Communists of America. And I want to start first by letting you hear what they have to say about communism and socialism. A member of the Revolutionary Communists of America, a young member of Revolutionary Communists of America, what he has to say about socialism and communism.
In both socialism and communism, it is when the workers control the means of production. And they control the state itself, they control the government, they control the economy. The difference, of course, is that communism is the moneyless, stateless society in which we're trying to achieve in the end goal. The thing is, though, that we understand that capitalism is a very big difference. It would not be something that most people would be able to just flip to in a day. So, that socialism is the transition period that's required. It's the workers' state that still uses the state from the existence of capitalism in order to flip society as a whole, to change culture, to change the means of production itself, to reform society so that you're no longer just producing an insane excess. Now you're having a controlled and strategic economy that is actually being used to help the working class. Once you have achieved that, once the culture itself has changed to build into this sort of culture, only then can communism be achieved. Both socialism and communism.
So, first of all, I want to say that he is eons ahead of where I was when I was his age. When I was his age, I was transitioning from Queer Nation and Animal Liberation Front into the Ralph Nader presidential campaign. Okay, Marxism to me was alien. I didn't start considering Marxism until 2008, after the financial crash of 2008. Way later, when I was in my early 30s probably. So, it's really interesting that you have this generation of young communists and Marxists, this new generation of young Marxists who are, hitting the ground running. He understands Marxism from the gate out, so that is it's a qualitative improvement over my generation. And I am Generation X. He for the looks of it, he's post-millennial, right? The people who are 18 years old right now in the mid 2020s. So 5 generations after me, after my generation of left radicals, or whatever you want to call us, now you have young people articulating Marxism correctly. Everything he said about Marxism is right on, exactly. So he understands. Workers' control of the means of production is the foundation of socialism. He understands that socialism is a transition between capitalism and communism, which is, as he said, the moneyless society is also classless, etc. So, and his conception of the state is, the state is a transitional measure under socialism that eventually under communism will wither away, but that the state is necessary to flip things around from capitalism to communism via socialism, exactly, except it will be a worker state. Premise upon workers' control of means of production. He doesn't talk about that, but that's what he means. So, yeah. So this is the Revolutionary Communists of America. Revolutionary Communists of America. The young man here, he is in the Phoenix, Arizona branch, and there is 2 branches that are very active. The one in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the one in Phoenix, Arizona. He is in the Phoenix one. So, Revolutionary Communists of America is the American subset of the International Marxist Tendency, which is the largest Marxist international in the world. They are in 65 countries, I think. And yeah, so they had their 2 big branches are in Phoenix, Arizona, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the United States. So they just had their convention, Revolutionary Communists of America, in July of 2024. So they're a newly minted revolutionary left organization in the United States. Yeah. So and the International Marxist Tendency is the largest Marxist international in the world. They are far bigger than Leon Trotsky's Fourth International. Bigger, much bigger. Yeah. So they are the Marxist International right now. So and then most of the people in the International Marxist Tendency, the majority, 90% of all the members of International Marxist Tendency in any country you go to, 90% of them are under the age of 33. Okay, so it's a youth organization. It's a massive Marxist youth international. The International Marxist Tendency, Revolutionary Communists of America, is their branch in the United States. So there'll be links in the description where you can go to their website, and I'm gonna link to their Instagrams, so you can go to their Instagrams, and they're on TikTok. They're also on TikTok, of course, TikTok and on X. You can find them on X, TikTok, and Instagram. So what I'm gonna do in this, in this video is I am gonna go over their political program, their manifesto, and it's called A Manifesto for America's Communist Generation. Manifesto for America's Communist Generation. A Manifesto for America's Communist Generation, and I am going to go over it to consider it. So, and this manifesto was adopted at their party convention, the founding Congress of the Revolutionary Communists of America, on July 27 and 28, 2024. Brand new, newly minted. They're newly minted, brand new. So, and it says here, the Revolutionary Communists of America is a new political party for America's communist generation. Comrades from the RCA from across the United States will gather in Philadelphia for the founding Congress of the party on July 27, 28. And of course, this was published in May 1st. So this was before the I am making this video at the very end of 2024, almost 2025. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So, I'm just gonna read from it. Quote, Americans. I'm gonna read from it and comment. It's not a very long document, so I'm just gonna read from it and comment. All right. And of course, there'll be links in the description where you can look at it, read it for yourself, and interact with. If you are in the United States and you're interested in Marxism and you are under the age of 33, Revolutionary Communists of America is one of the two organizations that you might want to consider. There is another one, and I'm going to make a separate video about them. Revolutionary Communists of America are Marxist Trotskyists. Okay, so the other organization I'm going to talk about in a separate video, American Communist Party, is Marxist-Leninist. They're both Marxist, but there are two flavors of Marxism: Marxist Trotskyism and Marxist-Leninism, right? Of revolutionary political Marxism, there is two flavors. Legitimate, there is two flavors: Marxist Trotskyism and Marxist Leninism. So, Revolutionary Communists of America is the newly minted American Marxist Trotskyists, right? So, yeah, and so, quote: Americans are raised to believe that we live in a land of prosperity, opportunity, and unbounded possibility. We are told that a bright future awaits us as long as we work hard and play by the rules. Every experience of our lives has proven that these claims were complete and utter lies. We've realized that the entire world revolves around the accumulation of profits for a tiny handful of parasitic billionaires, while the rest of us languish in misery. We've realized that there is no American dream, no American exceptionalism, and no future for us under this system. Okay? In every conceivable way, the world can no longer afford to live under capitalism. Its continuation is no longer compatible with the survival of our species. And I guess they mean by that climate change, right? And also, not just climate change, but also the danger of nuclear war, which, as I make this video, is palpable, right? At any moment, a nuclear World War III could break out of the conflict between Israel and Iran, right? But yeah. So, quote: in every conceivable way, the world can no longer afford to live under capitalism. Its continuation is no longer compatible with the survival of our species. Tens of millions of workers are starting to realize this fact. We can say with absolute assurance that the United States is headed for revolution. Unprecedented social explosions and class battles against the capitalists are on the horizon. We need to prepare. History is calling upon our generation to step forward and fight for the overthrow of capitalism. The Revolutionary Communists of America are its organized wing. Our task is to assemble the new generation of class fighters into battle formation and arm them with Marxist ideas and methods. Our mission is to build a mass party capable of leading the working class to political and economic power. We vow to carry out the American Socialist Revolution in our lifetime. End quote. So that is, the Manifesto of America's Communist Generation. Revolutionary Communists of America. Right? Revolutionary Communists of America, which is the young man over here that I just showed you. And they talk about they're arming their members with Marxist ideas and method.
Socialism and communism, it is when the workers control the means of production. And they control the state itself, they control the government, they control the economy. And communism, it is when the workers control the means of production. And they control the state itself, they control the government, they control the economy. The difference, of course, is that communism is the moneyless, stateless society which we're trying to achieve in the end goal. The thing is, though, that we understand that capitalism is a very big difference. It would not be something that most people would be able to just flip to in a day. So, that socialism is the transition period that's required. It's the workers' state that still uses the state from the existence of capitalism in order to flip society as a whole, to change culture, to change the means of production itself, to reform society so that you're no longer just producing an insane excess. Now you're having a controlled and strategic economy that is actually being used to help the working class. Once you have achieved that, once the culture itself has changed to build into this sort of culture, only then can communism be achieved. Socialism and communism.
As you can see, it is correct. The International Marxist Tendency, the Revolutionary Communists of America, do a very, very, very good job of educating their members, their young members. Marxism belongs to the youth. Marxism belongs to the youth. When Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels put together Scientific Socialism and the Communist Manifesto, when the very first meetings of the first International, the International Working Men's Association, it was radicalized Chartists, radical women who wanted the vote now, and angry young workers. That was the meeting. That was the meeting that assembled around Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. When they started the International Working Men's Association. Okay, the primitive Marxist meetings with Karl Marx in them. And it was Marxism is for the young. Marxism was designed for the young, for women who want freedom now from whatever oppression they're facing. Now, we want in that era we want the vote now, and of course radicalized Chartists, right? And the Communist Manifesto was published the first time ever in a publication, a radical Chartist publication called the Red Republican. Okay, so Marxism is for the young. And the reason Marxism is for the young is because when people become old, like me, they become less radical. As the older you get, the less radical you become, because you become you accumulate experience and baggage and whatever, and you become less idealistic and less and which is is good from the perspective of survival. It equips you to survive better, but it takes away from you the sort of radical energy that is necessary really to formulate a politics that is radically transformative. For that you need youth, and that is why Marxism is for the youth. So here, the Revolutionary Communists of America are doing exactly what Karl Marx said. Like the project of Karl Marx, they're carrying it out, right? And you can see it in him right here, as you heard a minute ago.
We understand that capitalism is a very big difference. It would not be something that most people would be able to just flip to in a day. So that socialism is the transition period that's required. It's the workers' state that still uses the state from the existence of capitalism in order to flip society as a whole, to change culture, to change the means of production itself, to reform society so that you're no longer just producing an insane excess. Now you're having a controlled and strategic economy that is actually being used to help the working class. Once you've achieved that,
see, he understands the role of the state. What is the state under socialism? The state emerges. The first thing that happens is with workers' seizure of the means of production, and out of that, then you create following the abolition of the bourgeois state, there emerges, because obviously you're going to need bodies of armed men to protect the means of production that are under the control of the workers. To protect workers' control, you need bodies of armed men. But in order to administer the society, you're going to need a state. So they set up the Soviet Republic as a superstructure of based upon workers' control of the means of production. That is what, and then that state is used to transform society in the direction of communism, which is a society where classes are abolished, money is no longer necessary, the state withers away, the bodies of armed men are no longer necessary eventually, and politically and culturally constructed gender roles are no longer enforced on individuals, right? So obviously this is a very short video designed for TikTok, Instagram, and X, so he didn't have the time to elaborate, but yeah, that is when he talks about the state, the role of the state, that's what he means, right? So, and another thing I want to say about Marxism, in Marxism, the youth have more authority than legacy, all right? So, he has more authority to talk about Marxism. What he says is more authoritative than what I say. Because in Marxism, the youth are the ones who are supposed to articulate Marxism, because it is the youth who have the idealism and the radicality that older men don't have anymore. We lost that a long time ago. I stopped being radical in the sense that he's radical a long time ago, around the time of Occupy, so which is about 10 years ago. So you know what I mean? So yeah, so this illustrates how Marxism works, right? In Marxism, the youth, Marxism is for the youth. So if you want to understand Marxism, you go to a youth and have them explain it to you, and then their explanation of Marxism is what you need to hear, not what an old man is telling you, right? Not to impugn the work of people like David North and Alan Woods, who are doing their thing, and then the role of people like legacy Marxist people. Our role is more like to write things down in a blog or in an article or whatever. And I the older people are repositories of historical information and practical experience about politics. But the articulation of Marxism as a politics, as a revolutionary politics, is really the department of the youth. So, right. So, yeah. But, okay, let's go back to the manifesto here, because I'm going on 20 minutes and I want to make this video very short. Let's see, the second part of the manifesto, it says, we are a product of history. Capitalism once played a historically progressive role in developing industry, technology, and the modern working class. But ever since the mass slaughter of World War I, it has played a purely regressive role. Between 1914 and 1945, the two world wars and a catastrophic depression shook mass consciousness and radicalized the working class, pushing millions towards communist ideas. The workers' movement grew around the world, and the working class had many opportunities to take power. But due to a lack of revolutionary leadership, the capitalists managed to retain power, and a temporary period of stability for American capitalism opened after unprecedented capital investment helped give capitalism a new lease on life. In the context of this relative prosperity, the Marxist movement was reduced to almost nothing, and many believed that capitalism had resolved its contradictions. However, this was only a temporary respite from capitalism's innate tendency towards crisis and impoverishment of the working class. And I guess they're talking about the period, the period between 1950 and 1972, 3. When they had the Bretton Woods system, the Great Prosperity, right? That was what they're talking about here. During that time period, Marxism sort of like became Keynesianism eclipsed Marxism as the solution to the problems of the working class. And then what emerged in 1968, from 68 to 73, the upsurge, that was really a new left that was really post-Marxist. So, and that post-Marxist left is the precursor to whatever later became, sort of like the post-structuralist, liberal identity politics and what have you, which was a distraction and a deviation that now is dying and is being replaced by legitimate Marxism, which is great. Woke is out, and Marxism is in. Post-colonialism is out, and Marxist anti-imperialism is in. Yeah. So that's yeah. Quote: The anomaly of the post-war boom came to an end in the early 70s, and capitalism resumed its downward trajectory. That was when Richard Nixon dismantled the Bretton Woods system, and he took under the Bretton Woods system, the dollar was linked to gold. I think it was 35. What was it? It was $35 per ounce. I think it was. The dollar was linked to was pegged to gold, and all the other currencies were pegged to the dollar. That was the system. But Richard Nixon delinked the dollar from gold, and the system collapsed. Then that you have the system of. Then they replaced it with the system of petrodollars, which fell apart with the financial crash of 2008. The dismantling of Bretton Woods led to the late 1970s stagflation, and that discredited Keynesianism. And what replaced Keynesianism was the neoliberalism expressed by Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan. So yeah, and then you get the 80s, right? And and then you get deindustrialization in the 80s in the United States and France. They deindustrialized. In France it was in the 90s, and in the United States in the 80s that they deindustrialized. But and that sort of like that destroyed the material foundation for the proletariat in the United States and France. But anyways, read again. I'm just gonna read until the end, okay? All right. Quote: The anomaly of the post-war boom came to an end in the early 1970s, and capitalism resumed its downward trajectory. For the last half-century, working-class living standards have fallen sharply by nearly every measure. It took a few decades for the consciousness to catch up, but since 2008, the harsh reality, reality of life under capitalism has become clear to millions. Of course, 2008 is the financial crash of 2008, which discredited neoliberal capitalism and rehabilitated Marxism. That is why I come to really understand Marxism after 2008, because before that, to me, Marxism was sort of like the old school, right? And I saw it that way. But then I before 2008 I saw Marxism as old school anti-capitalism, but after 2008, the financial crash, then Marxism was rehabilitated, and I started looking at Marxism seriously. And now I am convinced. I'm not really a Marxist 100%. I'm pro-Marxist. I'll put it that way. Okay. I'm very much a proponent and defender of the Communist Manifesto. So I am a Communist Manifesto. I am a Communist Manifesto Marxist, right? So I go by the language of the Communist Manifesto of the International Working Men's Association of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, 1848. The Revolution of 1848 that restored the Republic. And that manifesto became the basis for what took place in Paris, the Paris Commune of 1871. That's the Marxism I understand. Yeah, that I propose. But like I said, Marxism is for the youth. So Marxism is for the youth. So I defer to him on Marxism, right? If you want to know Marxism, ask him, not me. Ask him, right? So yeah.